My grandmother, Sue Kaufman, was born on July 6, 1940, in the Indianapolis Methodist Hospital. Sue had two older siblings, her middle brother Kent and her older brother Steve. Her parents were Hazel and John Foster. She vividly remembers her dad's love for cars and the long hours he would spend in the garage working on them. Her mom was a very talented musician. She was a singer and a piano player. Hazel was also a good painter. Today, some of her art is in my house as well as her piano. Sue told me about her grandmother that lived back in the late 1800s and early 1900s. Sue did not know her personally though. When I asked about Sue's grandmother, she told me that she was a very beautiful woman. Sue remembers Mimi, her grandma, taking her to Christ Church Cathedral on Sunday mornings. Mimi would also take Sue to the movies when she could afford it. Thinking back, Sue cannot believe how inexpensive the 15-cent tickets were compared to the $12 tickets today. My grandmother grew up in Carmel, Indiana. She lived on a farm on Spring Mill Road. Sue liked living on the farm with all the animals. One of the worst memories she has as a kid is the time when a tornado came and her family had to seek shelter in the dark, scary cellar. Sue also remembered a time when her and her brother were riding down a creek in a horse trough and snakes started dropping from the trees above them into the horse trough while they were in. Sue recalled the tremendous celebration that occurred when people found out that World War II was over and America was victorious. She also remembered that before the end of the war, her grandmother would always have ration coupons while she went shopping. Another memory from this time was practicing bomb drills in school. Sue attended Carmel High School. While at CHS, she got very involved, although it was much easier to become involved back then because of the significantly smaller number of kids that attended CHS rather than the large amount today. Sue was a cheerleader and had lead roles in many theatrical performances. She was also recognized as prom queen back in the day. A fun fact about my grandma is that she was the first ever Miss Carmel. A typical teenage heartthrob back in the time was Elvis Presley. My grandma is a huge fan and absolutely adored him when she was a teenager. Sue went to his last concert he had before he died. Sue met the first love of her life at a dance at Fort Benjamin Harrison. She met my grandpa Bob Terrio there. She said he looked truly stunning in his military dress. Bob was sent to Korea for the Korean War. Although this did not stop Sue. She wrote him letters every day. That's how they communicated for about a year until the war was over and Bob came back to the States. In 1959, Bob and Sue got married. They were married for 20 years. In those 20 years, my grandma had my Aunt Dana, my dad Craig, and my Uncle Todd. Sue also remembers becoming the first woman in Indiana to be allowed to serve communion in church. This was a very special day to her. In 1979, Sue and Bob got divorced. Sue had a tough time providing for her family during this time. She had to work multiple jobs, including being a dental assistant and assistant manager at Ruth Chris Steakhouse. To become the dental assistant, she attended classes at IUPUI. While working at the restaurant, she met Jim Kaufman, the second love of her life. After dating for a while, they got married in 1985 and had a wonderful marriage for 26 years until Jim passed away last April. Sue, she said, wouldn't change a thing about her marriages. Her relationship advice for me was to be loyal, be a loyal spouse, accept your spouse's imperfections and gifts, and love them in spite of themselves. Be trustworthy and know how to forgive. Sue is most proud of how attractive her parents were together, and especially proud of her children. Some of the happiest moments of her life include going to Florida on a family vacation as a kid and having children. Some of the saddest moments of her life are when her mother died, when Jim died, and when her dog of 20 years old died. The biggest influences in Sue's life were her mother and her grandmother. She admired their actions, their love for the Lord, their patience and kindness. Her biggest regret is not listening to her parents as a teenager. Some words of wisdom Sue would like to pass on are love one another, love the Lord, trust God for He has a plan for you, be a man or woman of your word, be trustworthy and loyal, have no regrets by the treatment of people, show appreciation, and know that God is in control. Today, Sue is surrounded by a loving family, 6 grandchildren, and her kids and their own spouses. I would like to thank my grandmother especially for being interviewed and sharing parts of her life for this project. Thank you all for listening.